On November 24th, 2024, Bishop T.D. Jakes was in the middle of delivering a sermon when the unthinkable happened. His voice cut out, his eyes rolled back, and his complexion went ashen as he crumbled to the ground, all witnessed live by 2.3 million online viewers. What doctors later found as the cause was shocking enough. But with a $100 million lawsuit now threatening everything he had built, and disturbing rumors swirling across the internet, the full story of his battle for both his life and his legacy was only beginning to emerge. T.D. Jakes came into the world on June 9, 1957, in South Charleston, West Virginia. His parents, Ernest and Odette Jakes, brought him up in a warm, tight-knit household where he was the youngest of 3 siblings. His father was an industrious man who built a successful cleaning business, employing more than 40 workers, securing contract with prominent locations such as the State Capitol building and local grocery stores. His mother, a dedicated teacher, passed on practical life skills like cooking and sewing to her children, lessons that would serve T.D. well in the years ahead. Growing up, T.D.'s family resided in Vandalia, a racially segregated neighborhood navigating the tensions of the 1960s. Despite the hardships of the era, the Jakes household remained a place of warmth, curiosity, and activity. Everything changed when T.D. was just 10 years old and his father was diagnosed with kidney disease. For the next 6 years, T.D. played an active role in caring for him, an experience that left a deep imprint on his soul. The suffering he witnessed cultivated in him a profound sense of compassion. During those years, he would retreat to his bedroom and preach passionately to his stuffed animals, imagining them as a congregation. This habit earned him the affectionate nickname Bible Boy, a reflection of how inseparable he was from his faith even at a young age. His curiosity about God ran deep from childhood. On one occasion during a trip with his father, he encountered the concept that the earth is constantly in motion even when it appears perfectly still, a revelation that sparked in him a lifelong fascination with the invisible workings of God. Yet his spiritual journey was not without detours. As a teenager, he drifted from his faith for a period, until one night at a party, he spontaneously began singing gospel songs and was so overwhelmed by what he felt as the presence of the Holy Spirit that he fled the building entirely. That pivotal moment reignited his devotion and reaffirmed his sense of calling. The loss of his father at age 16 hit T.D. like a thunderbolt. After years of watching him suffer, grief gave way to anger and doubt. Life grew even harder when his mother's health also began to deteriorate, forcing T.D. to drop out of high school just 2 months shy of graduation to care for her, rather than breaking him. These trials forged a resilience and emotional depth that would later define his ministry. It was in the depths of this pain that he felt most clearly the pull toward preaching, not despite his struggles, but because of them. At just 23 years old, T.D. took a leap of faith and launched his first church in a modest storefront in Montgomery, West Virginia. The congregation began with only 10 members, and he named it the Greater Emmanuel Temple of Faith to keep food on the table and the lights on. He worked day shifts at a chemical plant, while his wife, Sarita, contributed by hosting a program at a local Christian radio station. Resources were scarce, but the couple made the most of what they had. T.D. handled the piano for choir himself, and often quipped that even counting expectant mothers and those who had passed, their Easter attendance might have scraped together 40 people. Yet his preaching carried a rare authenticity. He spoke to real struggles and offered real hope. The congregation slowly expanded, and by 1983, he hosted his first conference, drawing 80 attendees. It was a modest beginning, but the seeds of something extraordinary had been planted. The year 1996 marked a defining turning point. Jakes made the bold decision to relocate to Dallas, Texas, bringing just 50 families with him from West Virginia. On July 28th, the Potter's House held its inaugural service in a rented venue with 300 people in attendance. Growth was explosive. Within half a year, the congregation had swelled to 5,000. By December, Jakes had purchased a 28-acre property for $3.2 million, previously owned by another minister, which became the permanent home of the Potter's House. The opening service drew over 8,000 worshipers who packed every seat and filled overflow spaces. By 1999, the church was expanding so rapidly that construction began on a massive new sanctuary spanning 191,000 square feet at a cost of $45 million. It opened in July 2000 with seating for 8,000, and remarkably, the entire debt was retired within just 4 years. The Potter's House became far more than a local congregation. It grew into a global movement. By the close of 1997, membership had already reached 10,000, and 2 years later that number had doubled to 20,000. By 2003, separate Sunday services were required to accommodate the weekly crowds of over 23,000. The church drew people from every racial and cultural background, embodying the diversity of Dallas itself. Membership surpassed 30,000 by 2005, ranking among the largest churches in the United States. Additional campuses opened in Fort Worth and Denver, and on New Year's Eve 2010, a single broadcast service reached more than 40,000 people across multiple locations. By 2020, the church's average weekly attendance stood at 32,000, cementing its place as one of the most influential faith communities in the nation. Beyond the pulpit, Jakes established himself as a prolific author and skilled filmmaker. His landmark book, Woman Thou Art Loosed, published in 1993, sold in excess of 3 million copies, and held his position on bestseller lists for 75 weeks, catapulting him to national recognition as a writer. He would go on to author more than 40 books, with total sales exceeding 20 million copies, several of which claimed the top spot on major bestseller lists. In 2004, he adapted his signature book into a feature film that grossed $6.8 million at the box office. His production company, TDJ Enterprises, went on to produce films including Jumping the Broom and Heaven is for Real, the latter earning over $100 million globally. His television ministry, The Potter's Touch, drew viewers worldwide, and in 2016 he launched a talk show and later forged a partnership with Amazon to distribute his sermons and original content through a dedicated streaming channel. His organizational reach grew just as impressively. T.D. Jakes Ministries, launched in 1995, became renowned for large-scale events, including the Woman Thou Art Loosed Conference, which drew 52,000 attendees in Atlanta in 2004 alone. His Mega Fest event attracted over 100,000 participants and generated significant economic activity for host cities. The business division of TDJ Enterprises expanded into a multifaceted enterprise spanning film, music, publishing, and real estate. In 2022, the company unveiled a $150 million real estate development in Atlanta, and by 2023, annual revenues had climbed past $500 million. Recognition from the broader world came in 2001, when Time magazine bestowed upon him the title of America's Best Preacher, an honor made all the more significant given the piece appeared in the immediate aftermath of the September 11 attacks, a moment when the country was hungry for healing and hope. The feature amplified his visibility dramatically, growing both his television audience and book sales. His influence also extended into the halls of power. He served as a spiritual advisor to Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. On January 20th, 2009, he delivered the morning prayer at Obama's historic inauguration, marking the swearing in of the nation's first black president. His relationships with global leaders extended further, encompassing Ghana's President Rawlings, Nigeria's President Obasanjo, and Jordan's King Abdullah. In 2014, he attended a White House dinner honoring African heads of state, and in 2015, he was present for Pope Francis's visit to the United States, a testament to his standing at the crossroads of faith and global influence. In 2015, Jakes launched Conversations with America, an initiative addressing systemic issues, including racial inequality and criminal justice reform. The following year, he brought these discussions to a live televised forum alongside MSNBC's Chris Matthews, drawing congressional members, prominent journalists, and over 1 million online viewers. His Hollywood footprint continued to grow as well. TDJ Enterprises films collectively grossed more than $500 million worldwide. Jumping the Broom topped the comedy charts in 2011, and Miracles from Heaven, starring Jennifer Garner, proved in 2016 that faith-driven stories could compete at the mainstream box office. His 2016 talk show, though brief, underscored his ambition to connect with an even broader audience. Philanthropy remained central to his mission. In 2020, he established the T.D. Jakes Foundation with the goal of raising $100 million for underserved communities. A 2023 partnership with Wells Fargo created a $1 billion resource pipeline for those same communities, with $9 million already distributed to 16 organizations by early 2024. The foundation's work spans housing assistance, financial literacy, and workforce development. He also founded the Texas Offenders Reentry Initiative, known as TORI, which has supported more than 42,000 formerly incarcerated individuals through job placement, housing, and educational programs. The Potter's House responded to national disasters as well, joining President Bush in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, mobilizing aid following the 2010 Haiti earthquake, and distributing thousands of meals to families during the COVID-19 pandemic. His entrepreneurial ventures extended into real estate, where his company focused on developing affordable housing and revitalizing communities, including a 2023 collaboration with a Miami developer. His best-selling book, Crushing, and his International Leadership Summit, which convenes thousands of business and civic leaders annually, further illustrated the breadth of his ambitions. Yet alongside these achievements, theological controversy followed him. Critics began scrutinizing his language in the late 1990s when he repeatedly used the word manifestations rather than persons to describe the Trinity, prompting accusations of modalism, the belief that God is a single being appearing in different forms rather than three distinct persons. The controversy reached a boiling point at the 2012 Elephant Room Conference, where pastors James MacDonald and Mark Driscoll pressed him on his Trinitarian beliefs. Jake's affirmed belief in one God in three persons, appearing to align with Orthodox theology, but then expressed discomfort with the word persons and reverted to the term manifestations, citing it as biblical language. The contradiction left observers deeply unsatisfied. His church's website continued using contested terminology, and a theologian writing in 2016 noted that his language remained ambiguous enough to sustain ongoing concern among conservative believers. His critics within traditional Christianity also took issue with his ties to the Word of Faith movement. A 2001 report alleged that during a Trinity Broadcasting Network fundraiser, he told viewers that financial contributions would yield divine rewards in the form of wealth, relationships, and success, a message at odds with conventional Christian teaching on giving. In 2015, he sparked fresh controversy by declaring that obedience to God guaranteed one would never face financial hardship again. Detractors labeled as both reductive and spiritually dangerous. His preaching style, blending motivational language with scripture, drew criticism as more self-help than gospel. In 2007, he reportedly spoke in tongues during a live sermon without providing an interpretation, which many considered a violation of biblical guidelines. A 2019 interview in which he criticized white evangelicals for prioritizing abortion and same-sex marriage over social justice led conservative voices to label him a false teacher. The prosperity gospel charge loomed large over his public image. Many observers believe his teachings drew a direct line between faith, obedience, and material wealth. His personal lifestyle, a $1.7 million home, luxury vehicles, and designer clothing reported in 2005, appear to critics to contradict the simplicity modeled by Jesus. His proclamation that spiritual prosperity precedes financial prosperity struck many as spiritually misleading. A 2017 social media post reiterating that obedience to God eliminates financial struggle further fueled the debate, as did accounts of congregants donating their entire savings only to find themselves in financial distress. While Jakes rejected the prosperity gospel label and framed his teachings as tools for breaking cycles of poverty, many remained unconvinced that his message served his followers more than it served himself. His stance on LGBTQ+ issues underwent a visible evolution over the years, drawing reactions from every direction. In the early 2000s, he described homosexuality as brokenness, attributing it in part to dysfunctional parenting or past trauma. By 2015, however, he was publicly suggesting that the black church and the LGBTQ+ community could find ways to coexist, and that blanket judgment applied to neither gay individuals nor churches as a whole. The backlash was swift and fierce, compelling him to clarify that he still did not endorse same-sex marriage. In 2021, he renewed criticism of white evangelicals for treating sexuality as a more urgent concern than poverty or racial justice. A 2022 sermon in which he questioned whether traditional gender roles remain relevant to contemporary life, without directly referencing LGBTQ+ topics, signaled a continued willingness to challenge conservative norms. The result was a widening rift. Traditional Christians pulling away while progressive voices and LGBTQ+ advocates viewed him with growing sympathy. A new storm arrived when Jakes found himself entangled in the legal troubles of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. On March 25, 2024, record producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed a lawsuit against Combs containing explosive allegations. Buried on page 47 was a claim that Combs had intended to leverage his relationship with Bishop Jakes to rehabilitate his public image in the wake of abuse allegations made by his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura. The mere mention of Jakes' name sent shockwaves through both religious and entertainment circles. Prior connections between the two men drew immediate scrutiny. In 2021, Jakes had brought his Kingdom Culture sermon series to Revolt TV, a network co-founded by Combs, and in 2022 he had attended Combs' lavish birthday celebration. These associations fueled speculation that their relationship ran deeper than it appeared. The suggestion that Combs viewed Jakes as a tool for image repair horrified observers on all sides. The situation deteriorated further when unverified online rumors from late 2023 began circulating, alleging that Jakes had attended private gatherings hosted by Combs. Though entirely unsubstantiated, the rumors inflicted real reputational damage. Jakes initially chose silence, which only intensified public curiosity. On April 15, 2024, he finally addressed the matter from the pulpit before a congregation of millions, denouncing the allegations as deliberate fabrications designed to undermine his ministry. He flatly denied any connection to Combs' alleged criminal conduct and vowed to pursue every available legal remedy. 3 days later, on April 18th, he filed a $100 million defamation lawsuit against Lil Rod Jones. On May 2nd, he filed additional suits seeking $50 million each from YouTube channels he accused of using artificial intelligence to manufacture and spread false narratives about him, while also demanding that YouTube unmask the operator behind them. To demonstrate transparency, he assembled an independent oversight board of respected leaders and legal professionals, granting them unrestricted access to both church and personal records. He submitted to a polygraph examination, the results of which were released publicly on July 15, 2024. He also opened the church's financial records to public review and introduced annual background check requirements for all senior staff. Then came November 24, 2024, the anniversary of the Potter's House's founding. More than 12,000 people filled the sanctuary in Dallas, while another 2.3 million tuned in online. Jakes was roughly an hour into his sermon titled Strength and Weakness when, at precisely 10:37 a.m. mid-sentence, the words, "O Lord, my strength, my Redeemer, let them go in peace," still hanging in the air, the microphone slipped from his grip and struck the floor with a crack that froze the entire room. His body began to convulse violently, his frame shaking, his eyes rolling back, his complexion draining to a ghostly gray. The live stream captured every agonizing second as he labored to breathe for nearly a full minute. The congregation erupted into desperate prayer, some speaking in tongues, as panic rippled through the pews. 3 elderly congregants collapsed from shock. The fact that it happened on the very day the church was celebrating its 28th anniversary made the scene feel all the more surreal and devastating. The church's emergency response unfolded with remarkable speed and coordination. Dr. Mariah Stevenson, a cardiologist who happened to be seated in the front row, was at Jakes' side within moments, assessing his pulse and directing bystanders. Head of Security Marcus Washington immediately triggered the church's emergency protocol, Operation Shepherd Staff, facilitating the swift evacuation of 3,000 people from the sanctuary. An usher named Sarah Martinez sprinted to retrieve the AED in under 30 seconds. Paramedics were on scene within 4 minutes, administering emergency medication and establishing in 4-line. The church's helipad, installed just 18 months earlier, proved to be a life-saving asset. A medical helicopter touched down shortly after and transported Jakes to Methodist Dallas Medical Center in just 7 minutes. There he underwent a grueling 9-hour surgery, required 47 units of blood, and underwent 3 additional procedures before being admitted to the ICU, where a dedicated nursing team monitored him around the clock for 17 days. 24 days after the collapse, on December 18th, Jakes appeared via video call to his congregation, his first public communication since the incident. His words were brief but resonant. He had confronted a life-threatening crisis and was on the road to recovery. That single video appearance generated more than $4 million in donations to the hospital's cardiac unit. His rehabilitation was rigorous, combining intensive daily physical therapy under the guidance of a leading specialist with advanced oxygen treatments and a carefully structured nutritional plan. Even from his hospital bed, he remained creatively active, dictating an entire new book titled Reborn, Finding Strength in Life's Valleys. Released 3 months later, it sold over 2 million copies in its first week alone. On New Year's Eve, Jakes made his triumphant return to the pulpit. More than 18,000 people came in person, and 11 million watched online. He appeared visibly slimmer, but radiated energy. His sermon, The Comeback King, moved the audience to tears and stood as a powerful testament to perseverance, proof that even the most crushing valleys can give way to extraordinary comebacks. T.D. Jakes first encountered Sarita Jameson in 1982 while guest preaching at a small West Virginia church. He was 23 years old. She was 26. The connection between them was immediate and electric, and within just 6 months they exchanged vows on May 29, 1982. Together they embarked on a shared life that would prove both deeply rewarding and relentlessly demanding. They raised 5 children together: Sarah, Cora, Jermaine, Thomas Jr., and Jamar. Parenting under the scrutiny of public life brought its own unique pressures, and in 2009 the family faced public embarrassment when son Jermaine was arrested on charges of indecent exposure. The family weathered the storm with characteristic resilience. Their children have since carved out meaningful lives of their own. Sarah, born in 1988, has become a respected author, preacher, and mother of 6. Thomas Jr., born in 1994, has built a career as a music producer and media personality. The relocation of the ministry to Dallas in 1998 required the entire family to uproot their lives and adapt to an unfamiliar city, a transition that was not without its difficulties. Yet the family held together. By 2024, T.D. and Sarita were celebrating 42 years of marriage, with Jakes publicly honoring her as his ride-or-die soulmate, a partner who had stood with him through every test. While his work schedule was almost incomprehensibly demanding, 4 full Sunday services each weekend at the church's peak, alongside the output of more than 40 books, nearly 20 albums, and countless film productions, he made deliberate efforts to weave his family into the fabric of his ministry. Sarita took on a leadership role, overseeing the church's women's ministries. Their daughter, Sarah, grew into a pastor and writer in her own right. Still, the cost of ambition was real. Jakes has admitted with candor that he missed his son's high school graduation, a regret that stayed with him. In 2012, when Sarita underwent surgery for a herniated disc, the experience of caring for her while managing the demands of his ministry reminded him, as he later reflected, that no level of professional achievement can substitute for the irreplaceable importance of family.